program at the University of Michigan. He's one of 6, I believe, international fellows. And his project for the semester that he's here, which is right now, is do extremists control our life? So Guy, in addition to being a TV correspondent, is also a documentary. It won the American Emmy Award in Outstanding Science and Technology Programming in that category. And if his name strikes a chord with you or sounds a bit familiar, Shai was one of the correspondents who reported on the incident with the 8-year-old girl, Naoma Margolis. She was spat upon on her way to school in Beit Shemesh, and this incident led to kind of an uprising and other things that went on in Israel among religious extremists, and Shai is going to talk about that and other things related to that topic this evening. So, Shai?
It's too much of an introduction for a journalist. Just telling stories, that's what I do. That's the way I prefer to see myself, okay? Like out there at the field, and that this stuff I did, Ethiopia, the last story I did in Israel before I came here was about discovering new discoveries about Herods. That's a burning forest in Israel. This is Fukushima, Japan. This is where I met Obama's mom in Kenya, where I traveled there. But when I'm going to talk about the lovely world, we have a whole new topic today. First of all, if someone saw me here at the JCC, so my 2 daughters go here. I'm still trying to figure out how come they can go out and play in the snow. I didn't get used to this yet. One teacher asked me, how do you say snow in Hebrew? I said, there's not such a word. But they actually kind of like it, so maybe I'm the one who's getting it wrong. I want to tell you something that maybe it's a great way to introduce the way I work. I don't believe in coming to a place and have something set up in your mind before. I believe in coming and trying to discover new worlds, new places, mostly new people. One of the earliest stories I did, I started working in Israel at a program called Uvda. It's a fact with Yana Dayan, if some of you may know that program, as a researcher, they're a director. And then when I started working on my own, I was sent one night to this place where it was the night of the elections in the Likud party between Netanyahu and Sharon. Okay? But that was the night that, and I went there, I was looking for a story. And I met there were camps, people supporting Netanyahu, others were people supporting Sharon. I met this guy, I said, who are you in favor? He said, I'm not telling you. I called my cameraman and told him, okay, we got a story coming in. And then I started talking with him, and from this part on it was on camera, and I asked him, so who are you for? He said, I'm not telling you. Really? You're not telling me? No, sorry. So I went and asked others, and they said, come on, this is Shimshon. He's Netanyahu guys for like 20 years. So I went back to Shimshon, and I told him, Shimshon, everybody's telling that you're a Netanyahu guy for like 20 years. And he said, yeah, you know, but it's really a close race tonight. So I sticked with Shimshon, and at the end of that night, Sharon won. And believe it or not, the guy who was carrying Sharon on his shoulders was Shimshon, screaming, here comes the next prime minister. And when he opened the bottle of champagne, I asked him, Shimshon, how are you doing? He said, I'm with the winner. I got the right horse. So I believe this kind of stories tell much more about politics than, you know, the regular politics stories. Anyway, I want to spend this night and talk about what I'm calling Jewish extremism, and that's a subject that I've been dealing with for quite a few stories I did. And when I'm talking about Jewish extremism, usually, you know, at my program, when I present myself, I'm telling them I'm from Israel. the extremists are either Palestinians or something like that. And I want to focus like on the internal Israeli society, because I believe there is a big struggle on the way Israel is going to look like or be like in the next years. And I think this struggle is between being a Jewish country or a democratic country or both, and whether it can work out or not. And that's something that, of course, bothered me personally. And I think the last elections, which, by the way, are probably, we have a new government this evening in Israel. And I think that the stories of the past election are very much connected to what we're going to talk about this evening here. Because I think a big part of the decision on who to vote for was not based on the Palestinian issue, which may be another problem, but that's for another evening and another talk. I want to start this evening with this girl, okay? Her name is Naama Margolis. She's 8 years old. And I think everybody in Israel knows her, and she's not a reality star, and that's a good thing to start with. And when I met Naama, it was on last December, about a year ago. And I want to go back to last December because it's very important to understand what happened before. December 2011 was a month that was in the media coverage, dealt a lot with the relationship between Orthodox and secular and in Israel. It started with this story that happened in Israel at the army, where women were singing, okay, at this ceremony at the officers' school, and there were a group of men who left in the middle because they say they cannot listen to women sing. And that's raised out a big debate about it. The next step was a woman, her name was Tanya Rosenblit. She went on a bus in Ashdod, and this bus is for Orthodox, and it separates men and women. Men sit up front, women sit on the back. And, some gave her the nickname Rosa, the Israeli Rosa Parks. I'm not sure she's there. But she said, I'm not willing to go and sit at the back. Okay, I'm going to sit up front. And, of course, there was, they started, a struggle in the bus. It was documented, it was first pages. That was the atmosphere of something going on. And as you were told, I'm working for a program called Ulpan Shishi, which is aired every Friday night on Israeli television. It's more or less, I would say, a more news-oriented version of 60 Minutes. Okay, it's bringing 3 stories to summarize the week, and it's a very popular. It has around 20 rating points on average of every program. And my editor told me, okay, this is the subject. What are we going to do? We need to do something. Okay, we need to do something about this whole secular religious thing that's going on. And I told him, I don't know, I have no idea. Now I want to speak to you. I want to give you a word about timing, okay? Why timing is so important. Someone told me that timing in life is everything, and in the media it's above that. There is a very famous story. There was a guy called Bassam Zohamud. I don't know if you heard about him. He's an Arab Israeli actor who was very famous in this, around the 1980s. He was in a very popular program, and he died, okay, one day. And there was no news, okay? Really no news. So one of the editors of the Israel's biggest paper decided to put the spread at the middle to remember Bassam for his years, okay? Because there were no other news, so he gave him 2 pages. And they print the paper at midnight. And at 10 minutes to midnight, Uzi Chitman, which is one of Israel's biggest songwriters, died. And Bassam Zohamud got 50 words in the paper. So you need to know when to die. So I'll be back with the timing, and then my editor told me, okay, what can we do? And I said, I have no idea. I told him, he said, I have friends, they live in Bet Shemesh. Bet Shemesh, if people don't know here, it's a town located more or less in the middle between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. There for many years, there is a struggle going there between Orthodox, secular, and religious people. It's made the news, it came and it left, and people were talking about it, but it's not Jerusalem and it's not Tel Aviv. Okay, so it didn't got a big attention. And there was a little note in the paper that a group of ministers came there, and there was one woman, and she said to them, you know, I have a daughter, and my daughter, she's getting, you know, people are cursing her on the way to school. But that was like this really small thing in the paper. And my editor told me, you know what, go to Bet Shemesh. Let's give it a try. It was Monday. Let's see what you can find there. And that's where I want to start this journey with you, and I want you to see, I'll just talk, I think it's better to talk at the end. Let's see the piece again. I translated to English. Anyway, I came to Bet Shemesh, and this is a story.
את הסיפור של בית שמש כולה אפשר להבין ברגע אחד דרך ילדה אחת. קוראים לה נעמה, היא בת 8, שעלתה לארץ עם ההורים מארצות הברית. ומה שהכי מפחיד אותה היא הדרך מבית הספר הביתה, 300 מטר.
We'll just walk a little bit, okay? Nam, do you want to walk just a little bit? No? And then we'll cross? No? Okay.
הם רצו שאני אתלבש כמו חרדית, ושאני אתן להם בבית הספר.
בסיוט של נעמה הם שוב חוזרים, הקיצוניים החרדים שכבר קיללו וירקו. הם באו משם, מהצד השני של הכביש.
לא נעים שקוראים לנו שמות. לא נעים לי שאני הולכת במדרכה ואני מפחדת כשמישהו מהם עובר לידי ואני לא יודעת אם הוא יירק עליי או יקלל אותי. זונה, חוצה, נבלות, תסתלקו מכאן. ממש המילים האלה.
את אישה דתייה, את אישה מאמינה. אי אפשר להגיד שאת לא מתלבשת בצניעות. אבל זאת אומרת שמבחינתם מה?
מבחינתם אני בכלל הדתייה.
יש פה ילדות קטנות. יורקים עליהם. נכון?
זה מפריע לי. אני אדם בריא.
מה מתיר לך לירוק על ילדה?
אז אני אגיד לך לירוק על ילדה שמתנהגת לא כדין תורה, נכון?
ילדה בת 7?
ילדה בת 7, כן. ילדה בת 7, כן. אבל יש רבנים. יש רבנים. ורבנים נותנים לנו את הכוח איך ללכת ברחוב. ואיך אישה צריכה להתנהג כשהיא לא ללכת ברחוב. וכמה צריך להיות.
איך זה לגור בבית שמש?
הסיפור של בית שמש הפך בשבוע האחרון לרלוונטי מאי פעם. פתאום מדינה שלמה מדברת על הדרת נשים, על כפייה דתית, על טניה רוזנבליט שסרבה לעבור לחלק האחורי של האוטובוס באשדוד. בבית שמש האמת, אף אחד לא הופתע.
בבית שמש זה כבר מזמן קיים, זה לא בכלל חדש לנו.
רק אז מה, אז בישראל אמרו יאללה זה בית שמש, זה לא מעניין?
נכון, בדיוק.
כאן כבר לפני 5 שנים הותקפה נערה שהתעקשה לשבת בקדמת האוטובוס. אבל אף אחד לא עצר את זה, והנורמה השתרשה.
אם מישהי תנסה פה לשבת מקדימה.
אוי ואבוי לה. אוי ואבוי, היא לא תעשה את זה. איפה לא תאמרתי לא תעשה את זה, כי תחלק את זה.
אז מה אתה אומר, גם החילונים קיבלו את הדין על עצמם?
כן. כן, במפורש כן.
העיר הזאת הפכה פניה. פעם גרו כאן ביחד דתיים לצד חילוניים, הייתה גם שכונה חרדית. מאמצע שנות ה-90 החלו להגיע עוד ועוד חרדים למקום. מנטורי קרתא דרך חסידות ויז'ניץ, גור, תולדות אהרון ועוד. הם התרכזו בתוך קהילות סגורות, עד שבשלב מסוים החלו להתרחב. ההתרחבות הזאת באה עם מסרים ברורים. חוקי צניעות, התבדלות והקצנה.
הנה, זה צנוע, כן. אתה רואה, ככה הם רוצים. אמא של אישה היא היופי של לכבות את עצמה.
אני רוצה להקריא לך משהו. תשמע, סכנת צניעות. הליכה של נשים מחוץ לביתן צריכה לעשות באופן שאינו מושך תשומת לב. נשים המטיילות ברחוב בחבורה מהוות מכשול לגברים וצריכות להימנע וללכת ברחובות צדדיים. ישיבת נשים בחבורה במקומות מרכזיים ובכניסה לחדרי מדרגות היא גובלת בחוצפה. אסור לאפשר לילדות לרכב על אופניים, להקפיד על לבוש רחב שלא יתגלה אף איבר כלשהו בתנועה.
אנחנו אנשים בריאים. אנחנו אנשים בריאים שיש לנו, שאנחנו...
אנחנו אנשים חולים? אנחנו אנשים חולים?
כן, סליחה על הביטוי, כן.
אבל את החוקים האלה לא מיישמים רק פנימה בתוך הקהילה. השטחים המשיקים בין השכונות של החרדים והשכונות האחרות הפכו לזירת עימות.
תיכנס לבית של חרדית, תסתכל איך מכבדים את האישה בבית, ותסלח לי, תסתכל איזה חילונים, האישה כמעט עובדת מינית.
כמו שאתה רואה אותה ככה?
זה לא שאני רואה אותה ככה, אצל החרדים מכבדים את האישה.
אצלנו לא. אתה מניח...
כמעט 40.
תגיד לי, מה זה?
כמעט 40. כי אתם באתם פה כדי לראות פרובוקציות.
אני באתי, לא קשורה עליהם בכלל.
הגעתי כדי לעשות פרובוקציות, וזה מה שהיא חיכתה, כדי תחיוך עליה.
מי שעכשיו ירקתי בפנים.
הוא לא בסדר, הוא לא בסדר.
וגם רוצה כמו 3
לך
חצי
צריך לתת
שקסר.
כבוד בעלך, ואת עשויה, את צריכה לגדל, להקים את הדור היהודי הבא, וזה התפקיד שלכם.
אנחנו קיבלנו את המסורת. יש פה אנשי מסורת. אנשי מסורת, אנחנו אוהבים, אנחנו רוצים את הדתיים, אנחנו רוצים את החרדים. אנחנו מאמינים שכל עוד הכתפיים שלנו יכולות לשאת אנשים חלשים, אנחנו נשמח לקבל. ואנחנו יודעים שהאוכלוסייה הזאת אוכלוסייה חלשה. אלא מאי? שעכשיו הם התחילו לכבוש את כל הגבעות ולזרוק אותנו.
ציון סולטן הוא עיתונאי מקומי וגם פעיל חברתי. הוא מאמין, חובש כיפה, שתמך בבחירות האחרונות בראש העיר החרדי הראשון בבית שמש. משה אבוטבול, איש ש"ס. גם חילונים רבים כאן הצביעו עבורו, ולא לזה הם יכלו.
אני אציג בפניך חוברת של עיריית בית שמש. וזאת ההתחלה, מפה זה נובע.
כלבנים.
אין פה תמונה אחת של ילדה, לא של אישה.
הנה, הרבה, יש פה. בטוח נמצא אישה אחת.
לא, לא תמצא. אתה יכול לחפש בזכוכית מגדלת, לא תמצא פה אף ילדה. תסתכל, ישיבת מליאת מועצת העיר. לא יכול להיות שאין פה אישה, יש 3 נשים בתוך המליאה.
אז הם ישבו מחוץ לתמונה?
אז הם ישבו מחוץ לתמונה, כן.
מה, כבודו רוצה לצלם אותי? בשביל מה? רוצה לדבר איתו, כבודו?
מי תמונות?
לא, מה הכל?
אני אוהב לצלם אנשים שמדברים בצורה אנטישמית. שמח, אני מקבל לשם, תנו לך את המילים מה להגיד. הרגע יש לך גם יגיד. אמא שלך מיותרת. אני אומרת ליד כל הזמן, כיפה שלך מיותרת, כי אפורה גם. אני אחראי לכל מילה.
הכיפה שלו זה הכיפה שקובעת.
פשוט מה שמתפתח כאן זה איראן קטנה, וכל המלחמה כאן זה בחסות היהדות, אבל היהדות רחוקה מאוד מהמעשים שלהם, כי בתורה אין כפייה. איך אתה מדבר עם אישה? איך אתה מדבר עם אישה? הנה הם תורתם אומנותם.
תסתכלו עם הציון שלכם.
זאת לא תהיה הפעם האחרונה שבה יבקשו לסלק אותנו, אבל זאת הבקשה הכי מנומסת. המשכנו לתחנה הבאה. בבית שמש לא מסתירים שום דבר. הנה למשל השלט הזה שהחלודה מעידה על גילו. בהוראה אנשים מתבקשות לפנות למדרכה שמעבר לכביש. בוודאי שאין להתעכב על המדרכה הסמוכה לבית הכנסת.
בבקשה, אני יכול לדבר לך, מה אתה רוצה לשאול?
למה יש שלט?
אין לשאלת?
אני מבקש מאנשים שלא יעברו בצלת השלט.
תשמע, יש תרבות, כן, של פריז, ויש תרבות של האומה היהודית. למה ביבי נתניהו, מתי שהוא הולך ברחוב, אז שומרים עליו, רוצה לדבר עם כולם, יש לו כבוד. אצל העם היהודי, לאישה חרדית יש כבוד.
זה התחיל כשיחה עניינית ואפילו מנומסת, אבל מהר מאוד הדיאלוג פסק.
אני ראיתי בעיניי, לא ממציא. עברה אישה עם שרוולים קצרים, ואנשים ירקו עליה. זה נראה לי...
ואם אדם שירק על אישה שלא באה בכוונה, הוא אדם לא הוגן, זה לא אנשים כאן, אתה לא בכתוב את זה בכוונה.
לא הולך מפה.
זה לא לכם שייכם, תסתלקו מכאן! תסתלקו מפה, אל תחייך, תסתלק מכאן! מלוכלכים!
אנחנו צריכים להסביר את עצמנו בכלל.
לא צריכים להסביר את זה.
לא צריכים להסביר. לא, יש לנו תורה ומצוות. אין חוקים, אין מדינה, אין שום דבר. יש תורה ומצוות.
תסתלק, יאללה, היום זה חנוכה בלי מתייוונים.
ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם.
את הנר הראשון של חנוכה הדליקה משפחת ניסן במודיעין. 14 שנים הם גרו בבית שמש, בקיץ האחרון מכרו את ביתם.
אם היינו רואים עתיד היינו משלמים.
מהדור שלנו, שהגענו זוג צעיר בבית שמש, אני חושב שלא נשאר אף אחד.
כשצילמנו אותם בשנה שעברה, הוא היה זה שהוביל את המאבק נגד סגירת בית הספר של ביתו שממוקם בשכונה חרדית. בית הספר נשאר במקומו, אבל איך נאמר, הניתוח הצליח, הרופא מת.
זה שאתם פה, הם ניצחו?
זה בריחה? בעצם, במקום להישאר להילחם. כן.
כאן אני יודעת שהבית ספר ישרוד. כאן לפחות אני מרגישה שיש לעיר הזאת סיכוי.
בחזרה לבית שמש, בימים אלו הולכת ונבנית כאן שכונה חדשה, אלפי יחידות דיור שנכון לעכשיו מיועדות לחרדים.
שיהיה לנו לבריאות, אבל מה איתה? למה לנו לא מגיע?
את השיחה הזאת אנחנו מנהלים על חורבותיו של מה שאמור היה להיות הקניון הגדול של העיר. כאן הכל נעצר.
זה דבר שיכול להיות רק בסיפורים, באגדות. איך מיעוט כזה קטן, מגובש, ניצח כמעט 65% מבית שמש. ומי שאשם זה
החילונים יכולים לקום בכל מקום, החרדים לא.
יש כאן במדינה שנאה חינם נגד חרדים, כאילו שאנחנו עם אחר. אם אנחנו רוצים לחיות בשקט.
אנחנו נעקוף אתכם לעבור אותי!
אני אוציא לך את הלב מהמקום, לא את העיניים. את הלב! את הלב בזכותי ובזכות הילדים שלי, אתה קיים פה. מנוול. אתה רואה? אתם לא הייתם פה בשנות ה-50. אני הייתי פה. אני הקמתי את העיר הזאת. ואתם באים עכשיו מפירים את הדממה השקטה והטובה והנעימה. איפה שאתם הולכים, אתם עושים רק רע ליהודים ולתורה.
בית שמש המסלול התנגשות, ומסביב כולם שותקים. יש הרי חרדים רבים שלא מסכימים עם דרכו של הגרעין הקיצוני, אבל הם לא עוצרים אותו.
מה יעשו בבית שמש?
מה יעשו בבית שמש? שכונה חרדית, יהיה לא רק בית שמש, כל ארץ ישראל יהיה ארץ ישראל חרדית, זה לא יעזור לכם כלום. המדינה תהיה בסוף סוף מדינה חרדית. כן רוצים או לא רוצים?
איפה הרשויות? הן כהרגלה נזהרות, אולי באופן מכוון, אולי לא. אפשר להעלים עין מהכל, מההפרדה, מההדרה, מהשלטים, מהכתובות ומהיריקות. אבל זה מה שקורה בסוף. ילדה בת 7 רועדת מעצם המחשבה שהיא צריכה ללכת לבית הספר שבקצה הרחוב. 300 מטר.
חושבת שיבוא יום שתוכלי ללכת את הדרך הזאת מהבית לבד?
לא.
What's happened at the studio when the program was aired. People who watched people who watched the program that night. I mean, before it was aired, we were sitting in the editor's room. We know it was very, very strong material, very strong story, but no one could really estimate how it's going to develop. And I remember the host said, okay, like there was a quiet at television, quiet is quite rare at the studio for like, I don't know, a couple of seconds. And then they turned to the, like the military correspondent who was supposed to speak something about Iran. And he was asked a question about, it just goes like that. And now we'll go for a different subject, we'll speak about Iran. And then the military correspondent said, with all due respect to Iran, I think this is bigger than Iran. And I want to speak a word about that. And then he spoke, and then another, the Arab world commentator said, I'm not commenting on everything outside my Arab world, but I must comment on that. And then he said, what's growing up here, this is a very scary picture of what's going on in Israel. And then it was aired at, I think, 8 o'clock, and at 8:40 it was on the internet. And I want to tell you that's the numbers so you can quite figure it out, Israeli numbers. If there's a good story on a website, it gets 5,000, 6,000 people view it. If it's a really amazing story, it gets 10, 12, 15,000. If you got woman in a bikini, it gets 20,000. Okay? I'm getting a call at around, I got a lot of calls after this program, and I'm getting a call at 11 o'clock at night, and the editor is telling me we reached 30,000 already. It's only 11 o'clock, and it has like 2,000 shares on Facebook, which is huge. And then the next day, the radio station, everybody was talking about that, and at 7:30 at night, it was 100,000 people watched it on the internet, and 8,000 people shared it on Facebook. And at 8 o'clock, President Netanyahu gave a special message, okay? And he said, he called the Israeli police to act aggressively against violence aimed at women. Netanyahu also ordered the Attorney General to make certain that law against excluding women of public places are enforced. The public sphere in Israel will be open and safe for all. The next following days, the story was all over the world, okay? From the New York Times, Washington Post, Miami Herald, The Guardian, everywhere. I just give you one quote from the New York Times. It said, the country was outraged. Nama's picture was appeared on the front page of all major Israeli newspaper. For many Israelis, this is not a fight over one little girl who walked to school. It's a struggle that could shape the future character and soul of the country. And that's also news from the world. Then, on the same week, there was a huge demonstration. Between 5,000 to 10,000 people came to Bet Shemesh, Israelis, just out of the blue. People came to demonstrate with the people of Bet Shemesh. It was a beginning of a very strong solidarity. And I think it's really touched a subject which was also very problematic. I want to go down to one of the, I think the heart of the issue, which also stands now, is whether the Orthodox people are joining the army, okay? And just, I don't know how many of you know the number, but in 1950, 400 people were told that they cannot go, and the past year, it was more like 50,000, okay? So that's the number that's made this huge debate. I want to speak a word about Naama. The two groups that attacked girls over there were, they left the city. It never happened again. But there was a very, very big discussion, and they called us, our program is called Ulpan Shishi, they called us the Ulpan Shishi Party, okay? Because they say what we did was political, and we were against Orthodox, and I'll give you in a minute a good reason to support what they're saying, but it was not intentional. I got back, after Netanyahu said that he will not stand this behavior. Do you remember the sign there ordering women to cross the street? So I came back with a TV crew the day after to see if the sign has been removed, because the Ministry of Interior Affairs, who is a religious Orthodox, ordered them to do it. That's the way I got out with my car. I was attacked with my TV crew. 200 people nearly lynched us. We got out of the neighborhood with police help there. And one of the things, a lot of people interviewed me later, and what I always say about that is this thing. They kept on telling us, you're dealing with extremists, this is not the picture of the Orthodox world, which I agree, okay? I totally agree. But we were attacked on daylight in the center of a Jewish neighborhood. Where were the neighbors? How come they didn't go down to the street and tell them, what are you doing? And stop there. It didn't happen. What I'm claiming here, or what I'm telling, that this story has been going on for many years, okay? And it has not been taken care of. People, I remember one guy told me in those neighborhoods in Bet Shemesh, the city hall put benches so people can, you know, sit outside. There are places where it's not winter, you can sit outside. So the Orthodox people came and took them away. So women will not sit outside. So they won't have women in front of their seats. He's about to become the Minister of Finance. And I think that he might bring a change in that. I want to go down to another part of our discussion today. And I know you probably have a lot of questions. We'll take them all together at the end if it's okay. If someone has something urgent now, please do. The next group I want to talk about is the Israeli Jewish settlers, okay, of the West Bank. And I think that you can tell now for sure that definitely the biggest influential group in Israel in the past 10, 20 or 30 years is definitely the West Bank settlers. And I think the reason for that is doubled. First of all, they gain a lot of political power, okay, even the Likud party, a lot of his members are dependent on voters from the West Bank. And the other reason is what they are doing good. I think Zionism, the whole Zionism idea started the same way, by doing things, okay? And maybe they are the ones who are doing things which are not accepted among the total society, but they are creating facts, okay? And it's hard to deal with facts. And we just had the numbers. Do you know the numbers of how many people live at the West Bank at the moment? Who knows the number? 350. How much live, how many east of the fence? Okay, that's a very important number. Don't forget, 350 number that includes like big cities. Okay, like Ariel, which will probably, you know, gonna be in Israel if there will be an agreement at the beginning. 70,000, 75,000, okay, live east of the fence, and we're talking about a couple of, maybe 30,000 who are in more secluded areas. Now, you cannot blame the Israeli settlers for being creative, okay? And I think one of the recent inventions were, at 1996, there were an agreement with the US government that Israel will not build new settlements, okay? They could build in the one they have. So you know what was the idea to form? You know the name? The outposts, okay? Now, I don't know if any of you know the mechanism of how an outpost is built. But it's very simple. You take a hill. After you take a hill, you say you need to be the guard on the hill. That's an example of one of the places. You need guard on the hill. Once you have a guard, you need to sleep somewhere, right? Because he stays there. So they build a house for the guard. The next thing, you need electricity. Okay, then you got electricity. And then once you got electricity, you need a fence because you need to protect that. And then you need another caravan for other guards. Now, I'm not getting into the political question about it, and it should be clear that the Israel governments as a whole supported it. They were the one who gave the electricity. They were the one who were moving the caravans and pay for that, okay? And that's what makes the whole story a lot more complicated. But what I want to say, and I want to say clearly, that I think that while there is no decision on the future of the negotiation, the more extreme groups have bigger effect on the middle. And you were told at the beginning that I'm trying to study here, do extremists control our life? I've changed its sense to what extent, okay, do they control our life, because it's a clear thing that they do. And I think at the current situation, the extremists are shaping what's going on in Israel now. And before I want to show you a part of the next thing. I want to have another word about the outposts. Of course, settlers, it depends where you put them. Usually, if you Google settlers, that's going to be the picture you'll see. Okay, it's more likely to be seen like this kind of. And I'm talking about these guys. Their action is called, you probably heard the term price tags. There are groups, radical groups, who believes that if someone is trying to hurt the Jewish settlements, they will take a price, usually from the Palestinians, and a price meaning to burn fields and do all kind of of course, illegal acts. Now, since 1996, when I told you there is a commitment not to build settlements, there have been at least 100 outlets that have been built around the West Bank. Now, every few months, there is, I would say, a new rise, usually depending on the conversation with the US, that says that the Israel government should evacuate a certain outpost because it's illegal, okay? At 1 week like that, which was 2 years ago, there is an outpost called Chavat Gilad. Chavat Gilad is one of maybe the most famous illegal outposts in Israel. And when Chavat Gilad was built, it was built by a guy. You will see him in the part I'm showing you, so I want to tell you a word about him. His name is Moshe Zar, okay? Moshe Zar, at the beginning of the 80s, was a part of the Israel illegal Jewish resistant group, okay? And he took action in putting bombs at Palestinian people's houses, okay? Their big intention was to blow up Temple Mountain. If you remember that, they collected almost 400 kilos of TNT. They put them at the Golan Heights. They had a big program, and they were caught after putting bombs in 5 different Palestinian buses. That was the biggest organization of Jewish illegal resistance, what they call terror groups, okay? And he was part of that. Now, a lot of these group people changed their way, and once he got off prison, what he decided to do is to buy Palestinian land. Now, if you come and visit him, you will open an album, because he always documents the minutes that they are selling him the land. Because if they go to court, he can say, here is the minute the guy sold me the land. And what he really liked to show you is, this is the album, and this guy was killed a month after he sold me, this guy a year, this guy 2 years, so he's really proud of that, okay? That's a part of his belief. And he has formed, now his son Gilad was killed in a terror attack by Palestinians, and he built this outpost as his remembrance. Now, as I told you, this week I was, at that week I was going because once again they told, okay, they're gonna evacuate, they're gonna take out outposts, so we need to go there.
And if power was lost, we're putting...
Wait,
This was
sorry,
that,
that's another different story. I hope that we will find people like that in the West Bank. It would be really nice. I think it's going to be much easier to handle. But anyway, I want to tell you something in general about coming to these places. A lot of time you cannot coordinate these kind of trips ahead, okay? You just go there and you film what you got, because once you're told, I'm from the Israeli television, from Talented News, I want to do that story, and they say, don't come, okay? We're not going to talk to you anyway. So your biggest chance is just coming and trying to talk with them. So I'll give you I want to show you a very certain part of the story, not all of it. Okay, we'll go from here and start in a minute. So anyway, like I told you, there was a message in the morning that they are going to take out the outpost. We go from here.
תג מחיר זה שאם נוגעים באיזושהי התיישבות באיזשהו מקום ביהודה ושומרון, יש על זה מחיר. אתה רואה את כל הערים פה? הכל שלנו. הכל זה שלנו. ייקח 10 שנים, ייקח 20 שנה, ייקח 100 שנה, הכל שלנו. אם יפנו אלו? חוות גלעד, הכל לא יפתחו. מה שיעשו זה מקסימום, יעשו איזה צריף אחד.
למקום הגיעו צוותי כיבוי פלסטינים. אחד הכבאים נפגע משאיפת עשן.
כל ההצגה הזאת מסביבו זה הצגה וזה הכל.
באמת נראה לך שלא זובד?
בוודאי שלא. הוא הצגה, קח את הפרטים שלו, ואני מוכן לעשות איתך התערבות. מחר אני ואתה בודקים מה קורה פה, הוא יושב שותה קפה באיזה בית קפה. בשכם. ואחרי זה עוד יוצא לעשות פיגוע.
הלחימה באש נמשכת. בינתיים חוזרים ילדי חוות גלעד מהגן הביתה למאחז.
היום 54% מילדי כיתות א' במדינת ישראל. 2020 זה התאריך. 2020 זה התאריך.
מה יהיה?
אז יהיה פה רוב.
כמה שדות ישרפו עד אז?
זה חוות גלעד, הרחיבו את הפעם. ותראה מה נהיה ממנה אחרי 5 שנים.
חוות גלעד אכן התרחבה בשנים האחרונות. הנה עוד קרוון בהליכי בנייה. למטה פגשנו את דניאלה וייס, ממנהיגות המאבק.
מה אמרת?
לא, אתה... עשן. זה חיוני כזה, זה זז, לא דורכים במקום. אנחנו לא רק מדברים על חוות גלעד ועל רמת גלעד ועל שבות המפעל מורזסטר, אלא אנחנו עכשיו יושבים על תוכניות, עכשיו לבנות יישובים חדשים. וזה הרעיון. לא יהיו 100, יהיו 200. כשאני נוסעת כאן בנהרים, אני אומרת, נעלה כאן, נעלה כאן, נעלה כאן, נעלה כאן. ואז מה? כל החיים ירדפו אחרינו. בסופו של דבר הבינו, עם ישראל רוצה את ארץ ישראל, ויניחו לנו.
5 שנים לחוות גלעד, מה נמצא?
כן, יהיו בתים יותר, מה שנקרא, ממשיים, וגם מה שאני מאוד הייתי רוצה לעבור את הכביש, ויש שם מקום שנקרא חירבת כפרור, ועיבוד של 40, ובואכה שכם, ובתוך העיר שכם, קבר יוסף, ועיר הברית. עיר הברית זה לא... העברית הראשונה זה שכם, זה לא תל אביב.
אחרי שהשדות הפלסטינים הוצדו, עכשיו הפלסטינים הציתו את השדה הסמוך למאחז. המקום הזה קרוי על שם גלעד זר שנרצח לא רחוק מכאן בשנת 2001. אביו משה הוא בעל הבית, והוא זכה לכינוי אדון השומרון.
אני לא רוצה ממך השתתפות בצער ברמה האישית. תודה לך, תאמין לי, אני חזק במיליון ממה שאתה מתאר עצמך. קניתי פה חלקת קרקע, 2 חלקות, שנותנו ביחד 500 דולר. למה שאני לא אקים פה חווה חקלאית ויישוב? ובחרתי להקים פה את חוות גלעד, מכיוון זה קילומטר במקום הרצח. אם זה פה, אדמה פרטית, למה שאני לא אבנה פה? זה אסור לפי החוק. הבנתי. אסור לחזור על טעות כזאת פעם שנייה. מי שהולך לעשות לנו ראש קטיף, צורה לו וחרפה לו. הוא המוגד בעם ישראל.
באמצע השיחה שלנו הרוח משנה כיוון. האש מתקרבת לבתים. משה זר זה לא מרתיע, גם זה לא יזיז אותו.
יביאו לנו פה 2 חטיבות טנקים, ועם טנקים ידרסו הכל, וירסקו הכל, והכל טוב ויפה. מה יהיה למחרת?
מה יהיה?
למחרת יקימו את חוות גלעד מחדש. אם לא למחרת, אז דקה אחרי זה. תודה.
בסופו של דבר אף מאחז משמעותי לא פונה השבוע. אלו רק התמונות שלפני המעבר.
This is only a small part of a much bigger story. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, I'm thinking that in the last few years, what's also, I would say, developed in some areas at the West Bank is, I would say, communities that was not handled by the government, and those extremists who set facts on the ground they're shifting, okay, the whole middle people, because there is a very famous scene at a Hollywood movie called Fight Club, okay? If someone goes to you at the street and he tries to fight with you, most people would say, okay, I'm out of here, and they will go, okay? But those who will fight back will set the tone, okay? Most of the people will not do that, but those who do extreme things, they will set the tone at the end, and that's, I think, what's happened. Now, you can say that there is a connection and there isn't a clear connection between those two groups, okay? And I will agree for that. I don't think that the Orthodox problem is the same as the West Bank, like extremist problem. There are different groups, but I think that those two groups have learned how to use the Israeli political system, okay, to their benefit. And I'm not sure that the majority of people in Israel want to go that way. Now, if I want to take it, I'm going to go back to the Orthodox question, and I'm going to take it to something I heard here. I think what's going on in Israel, that the dominancy of the Orthodox point of view, it's getting so dominant, and it leaves no other place for any other look at religion. It will end up it's a very hard thing to say, but it will make a very big tear between the communities. And it already happens in Israel, because I was doing a story about this college, young people just before the army. It's called Bina, it's in Tel Aviv. There are secular people who come and spend a year before the army, and they want to study Judaism. But they want to study Judaism as a culture, okay? And they don't want to study it the Orthodox way. Now, every kind of program like that is getting funded by the government, but this program doesn't, because it does not go with the Orthodox way, okay? And I think that's something that happens more and more, this dominancy. And maybe at this government, when I was telling you at the beginning what's happened, I think what Lapid did is very interesting, because I think when you're speaking about Orthodox, he and people of the right wing who are not Orthodox, they share the same view, okay? So they formed a coalition, maybe against Netanyahu in a way, forcing him to set off the Orthodox of the parliament, and it's going to be a parliament without Orthodox people for, I think, we hadn't been like that for 15 years or 10 years. And there is a chance that something will change, because I think that the majority of the Israeli society said in the last election, we want something to change in that manner. Now, will it happen? That's a bigger question. Will this coalition help to change the picture we saw with the other program? I'm not sure about it at all. Okay, I'm not sure that, this will not go, and this bother, of course, the American and the whole Jewish community and the whole world community. I just remember, I don't know if some of you saw there is a movie called Fog of War. It's an American movie who won the Oscar, and it's Robert McNamara, who was the architect of Vietnam, and he's sitting in front of the camera at the age of 84, and he's looking back. And he said a sentence which I looked at it and I really could see Israel there. He said, at the end of the war in Vietnam, the world was, our friends were against us. England was against us. France was against us. But we kept on doing anything like we don't care. So I think that people in Israel should ask this question. If a lot of the world is joining against them, does it tell something? And I think it's worth, it's a question that should be asked, and I'm not sure if it's really asked, or we're concentrating too much on the Israeli angle. I want to, before we go to questions, I want to just give you a last look. I told you, the last story I did in Israel was about Herods. Herods, I'm saying the right name in English? Herods. And people, Jews tend to hate Herods, okay, because he was really mean and evil. But I did a really long journey starting to tell Herod's story. And with people who really research, because there is a huge exhibition about Herod at the Israeli Museum just opened a week ago. And two researchers told me, maybe it's time we look back at history a little different. Herod might have been a very mean ruler, but he was the last king or the last emperor who kept everything together. There was a temple in his days. There was a big Jewish community in Israel, okay? And right where he left, the Roman took over, then there was the destroyed of the temple. And now he told there is a great legend, okay, of how the Jews fought back. And really they did a big rebellion. It lasted for 5 years in Herodion, okay, which many people probably visit there. But what happened after that? They were gone for 2,000 years. So, and I think there are some things in common about it. Of course, it's a radical point of view of looking at that, but I think we should learn some from the history. Okay, we should look back at our history for a minute to see what has extremism led us. And if we look at the people in Masada, in Masada there was a law that men could not go to the toilet on Shabbat, okay, because it's not pure. And so they have to wait for Shabbat to end. And when I'm looking at some of the rules now, I'm not sure if they make any more logic. But my last thing is I want to tell you a nice story. You might think that after I told the story about Bet Shemesh, I became the enemy of the Orthodox. So I didn't really become the enemy. A lot of them had really deep conversation with me, because I was no longer this secular reporter. I had a name and I had a face, and they recognized me and they could talk to me. And I remember one of them was a very extreme guy, and we had a long conversation, and at the end of the conversation he told me, "I'm not afraid of you. Do you know who am I afraid of? This." We stopped computers, we stopped television, but this goes in our pocket. If someone is taking that, we can't see him. We can't monitor what he's thinking. He can see the world. And I think it's a very interesting way to look at it. So maybe, technology will help in doing that as well. Let's start with a round of questions. Yeah. Just make a call.
I just wanted to make one statement.
Yeah.
That is that everything you showed about Israel can be correct. But now that you're in the United States, you ought to take a look at the extremism that's driving American legislative action, American law. It turns out that there are probably as much extremism in the United States, maybe a little bit more subtle, than there is in Israel.
What is your name, sir?
Steve Siegel.
Steve, what I'm doing here is exactly what you're telling me to do. I mean, I'm researching extremism in the state as well, in the Arab world. I think it's the same. One of the courses I'm going at the university is radical extremism with the Arab countries. It's the same story. Extremist or extremist, it just depends what they support. Yeah, please.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's really ironic that the first really big conflict between the Arabs and the Jews in 1920, 1921 was when the Jewish labor had a march, and the women were wearing short pants. And so the Arabs attacked them because they were so immodest. I had a question now. Suppose that support for the yeshivot and for families, for Orthodox families, suppose all of that were to disappear. Would the majority Orthodox and the Haredim be pushed together, or would they separate?
You're asking, I'm going to base my answer of what I know of people who, did studies on this community, and not on my personal perspective. But the studies are saying clearly that if you will force, at the beginning, Orthodox to go to work, not getting paid for studying, okay, and to be a part of the society, the majority of them actually want to do that, okay? They are living, we cannot forget, if you look at poverty in Israel, the two most poor sectors of Arabs, Israeli Arabs, and Israeli Orthodox. And okay, they choose this way of life, but no one is really enjoying living in poverty. And I think it's going to be a wave of them to get out of the cycle that they are not able to live now. And I think a big number of them, of course there will be huge demonstrations, there will be everything. But if you, I think the majority of the people want to live a life, a normal life. Yes, the back.
How much do you think gender is a role in extremism?
I told Hadassah, okay, and I met Hadassah is the mother of Nama, and she told me, Shai, is it ever going to change? And I told her, you know when I think the change will come? The change must start with women. There is no other place where this change could come from. Because at the current situation, women are the ones who are paying the highest prices. Okay, they are not able to, to get educated, to go to work. They are excluded, and I think that they are more close to the interest of other, like let's say, religious or secular. So I believe that if there will be a change, it will start with the woman. And basically, anything that starts with women has a bigger chance of succeeding than it starts with men. That's the general idea. But I'm only saying that because my wife sits here.
What's the current status of Army service in the ultra-Orthodox?
The current status is that only really low numbers, I don't remember the figure by heart, a couple of hundred people a year are joining the army. The others are staying in a system that actually forces them to be poor, okay, and I'll explain you why. They don't have to, if they are declaring that they are studying, okay, in the yeshiva, so they are they can go to study, okay, and each year they renew the study position until they are 31, okay. So they renew it until 31. They are not joining the work cycle because once they are in the yeshiva, they get their monthly allowance. They are not allowed to work, okay, and they are bringing children, far before we do, okay. So at the age of 31, they have 4, 5, 6 children. They are poor because they are not getting a lot of money, and they are forced to stay there. Now, if they will want to leave, okay, the yeshiva, they will have to join the army. So they will not do that. So that's the current cycle that a lot of people, even in the Orthodox world, are saying, give us a chance to, to go away from this world. And of course, I'm not saying that, everybody there is saying, please take us to work. That's not the situation, of course.
I just want to say that not all religious people are like that in Israel. There are a big sector of the religious people that are army officers and do serve in the military.
Of course.
So it's a standard story.
Yeah, of course. Yes?
Well, a lot of the things that happened in Israel had to do with the fact that the ultra-Orthodox were an important part of the coalition government. But what's going to happen now, because a couple hours ago that's no longer the case, do you think that will have any impact?
That's the big story. I mean, that's a very big question. I believe that, there will be a change. How radical will he be? I'm not sure. But one thing I can say about Lapid, okay, I think he learned his father lessons. His father was a politician, of course, and he ran for government for the same story, okay, being a secular, in a way, anti-Orthodox party, but he didn't deliver anything, okay? At the end of the day, he supported Sharon government for doing the disengagement because he thought that the disengagement was more important, but people did not vote for him to support the disengagement. They voted for him for internal reasons. And I think Lapid learned that was his big political lesson. And if you're looking at what he is insisting now, okay, he insists to get of course, the position he got in the parliament, leave the Orthodox out so he can really make changes. And the third thing, he insisted on getting the education minister, because the